Boxing fans have notoriously short memories. I've spoken about this in another recent video. Oleksandr Usyk, the former undisputed cruiserweight champion, beat people like Tony Bellew, Gassiev, Maris Bridis, Michael Hunter, etc., Krzysztof Glowacki. He was seen as the best thing since sliced bread up until he fought Chaz Witherspoon. Now a lot of people are saying he's got no chance at heavyweight against the big boys. In fact, people were so critical of that performance against Chaz Witherspoon. I've seen several people say that they don't think he could even beat Dereck Chisora. And of course, Dereck Chisora is saying the same thing. I've seen Dylan White say something similar. He doesn't think Usyk can beat any of the top heavyweights, the big boys. I disagree. Time will tell, obviously. The proof is in the pudding. It's all talk until they get in the ring. But I'm still convinced that Oleksandr Usyk can and will beat at least one of the big major heavyweights out there. I'm convinced that he will. I think people are a little too in love with the punching power of some of these big men. And I think some of these big men are too in love with the punching power themselves. And when punching power is not always going to work for you. There was a guy back in the 1970s called Jimmy Young. Go look him up. He was a small heavyweight for his time. He was a heavyweight who couldn't punch particularly hard. But go and have a look at the guys who he beat. Go and have a look at the fighters who he gave lots of trouble to. And that's a small heavyweight for the time, wasn't a big puncher, but yet he was able to hang with some of the biggest punchers ever. He gave George Foreman his second professional loss. Foreman was on a good run, by the way. This was after he lost to Muhammad Ali. He was on a good run, knocking out a lot of people. Fought Jimmy Young, lost again. And after that, George Foreman retired for 10 years. So, could somebody like Oleksandr Usyk or Michael Hunter assume the role of a modern day Jimmy Young? I suspect that they will. Both of them, actually. They'll both be something like that. Anyway, I say all that to say this. Dereck Chisora has expressed his interest, apparently, in fighting Oleksandr Usyk. Maybe he sees that as a payday. Maybe he sees that as a fight he could win. Maybe he looks at Usyk's style and says, yeah, he's got skills and all that kind of business, but once I put it on him, I'll take him out. He hasn't felt power like this. He hasn't felt strength like this. I'll take him out. Easier said than done. Usyk has been in the ring with big guys. When he was in the World Series of Boxing, he sparred Vladimir Klitschko and I'm sure many, many other big people. So I don't think Dereck Chisora would be able to handle Usyk the way that he thinks he will. I mean, have you forgotten how Dereck Chisora looked against Senad Gashi? Senad Gashi boxing as a southpaw moving around. Dereck Chisora could barely lay a glove on the guy. Now, Gashi obviously didn't win, but you saw how easy it was for him to keep Dereck Chisora off balance. And I actually didn't think the Senad Gashi performance was that bad from Dereck Chisora. I just think he was in against a mover, a very negative opponent, and it made Dereck Chisora look bad, in the eyes of many, not in the eyes of me, but in many other people's eyes, they thought he looked bad. Personally, I think that that's what you can expect Dereck Chisora to look like if he's in there with someone who's that fleet-footed. How much did Senad Gashi weigh for that fight? I reckon he probably weighed a bit more than Usyk weighed against Chaz Witherspoon. So I think Dereck Chisora would have all kinds of problems against Oleksandr Usyk, even if he's more fired up, because people say he wasn't fired up against Senad Gashi. Okay, cool. Even if he's more fired up, I think he'd have all kinds of problems against Usyk because of Usyk's movement. Usyk will be more on it, etc. But we'll see. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Is it realistic for Chisora to be fighting Usyk? At the end of the day, Usyk is the mandatory for the WBO belt. So unless Dereck Chisora can raise his ranking sooner rather than later, then it's unlikely he'll be fighting Usyk because Usyk says he wants to go straight for the WBO World Heavyweight title. So we'll see. Maybe Usyk will change his plans and decide to fight some other contenders before challenging for a world honors. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. It's happening. I'm out.